This is the next part of our video on vector addition and subtraction. We just did a whole lot of addition. We looked at 3 completely different methods that you could use for adding vectors. And now we are going to talk about how we subtract. So to subtract vectors, what we need to do is take the vector being subtracted and change its direction. So it says to subtract vectors, add the blank of the vector being subtracted, and we're going to say opposite. So if I have vector A and vector B, and I want to add A and B together, right? Normally I would do A and then I would move B so that it lines up head to tail. Well, what I need to do if we are subtracting vector B is I need to make it go the opposite direction. So we need to turn it around and make it go the other way. So if I were to draw, and we are not making this super accurate, I'm not measuring any angles, but I am going to at least try to roughly measure the length of the side. If I measure vector A, it is about 3.7. There's my A. If I left B, the way B was, it would go this way. But what we end up doing is we flip it around and we make it go the opposite direction. So instead of going forwards, it's now going backwards. So that's roughly 2.2. So it's actually going to go this way. That is negative B. Right? We said the notation for the opposite of a vector is negative, right? We change the direction by changing the sign. And then my resultant, A minus B, is going to be from the tail of the first vector to the head of the last vector. So this is A minus B. So you have to be careful and remember to change the direction in order to be able to do this. Okay, all we do is we just take the vector, we face it the other way. All right, so we're going to try the one underneath with a little bit of algebra here. It says state the resultant vector for each of the following. I have AB minus CB minus DC. So we said that in order to subtract vectors, we need to do the opposite. So I need to take the vector and flip it over. So anything that has a minus sign in front of it, we are going to reverse the order. So if I have AB, that's fine. It's going to stay AB. And then minus CB. What I'm going to do is really end up adding them, but I'm going to flip it the other way. So I'm going to add BC. I'm going to flip it over. And then minus DC, I'm going to flip that one around because of the minus sign, and I'm going to say that's the same as plus CD. And then what we talked about before is that when you are adding, right, you want it to be one continuous path. So we went from A to B, and then from B to C, and then from C to D. So you want these parts here, like the B and the B, the C and the C, to match. So if they do, we are starting at A, we are ending at D. This is going to be the vector A, D. Let's try this one. I have PZ, take away LA, take away AQ, take away QZ. So the PZ is fine, it's positive, but I am taking away LA, which means we are going to flip it over, and it's going to become plus AL. That minus AQ, we are going to flip that over, and that's going to become QA. And the QZ we are going to flip over, and it becomes ZQ. Now these ones do not line up, right? We go from Z, and then the next one starts with an A. This one has an L. The next one starts at a Q. So what I recommend, or what I recommended in our previous question, is you look for unique letters. So letters that only show up once. So that would be the P. The P only shows up once. Z I see twice, A I see twice, L I only see once, and then the Q I see twice. So I'm going to start with the one that starts with the unique letter, which is the P. So I'm going to do PZ. And then it's going to go Z, so ZQ. And the next one needs to start with Q, so QA. And then the next one should start with A, and I have AL. And that's all 4 of them. So we started at P, we ended at L. This is the vector PL. Okay, this question here, we need to start a new video for, but we are going to talk about the 0 vector first, and then we'll do that question in the next video. So a 0 vector is a vector that has a magnitude of, not a surprise here, 0. And because it has no length at all, it also does not have a direction. So if I take a look at this one, I have AB plus BC minus AC. So the AB is okay. The BC is positive, so it stays BC. But the AC has a minus sign in front, so we end up flipping that one over, and it becomes CA. Which means we went from A to B, and then B to C, and then C to A. So we started at A and we ended at A. So if I were to draw a little picture, we went from A to B, we went from B to C, and then we went from C back to A. Meaning from A to A, there's no distance. It's the same point. There's no direction because it just doesn't exist. So this is basically AA, which doesn't really make sense. So I would say this is the 0 vector. So we do 0 with a little vector symbol over top. Right? So if you ever find that you have the same letters, right, that means it doesn't really exist. Okay, I will see you in the next video to do our last example on vector subtraction.